Hello, and welcome back again to another 4-4 brew on another sweltering day here in the UK. Ivor, you're experiencing this heat from a
Yes,
new
I'm getting on
part of the
very well, thank
country.
you.
How are
Just
you
moved
getting
to
on?
the Cambridge area, so if any Thoughtful Brew listeners want to get in contact and have a little impromptu meet, even though I'm pretty sure they all live within the South Bucks area, uh, yeah, would love to. But I'm good. Just started a new job. Life's going well. House is nice. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm very happy with a lot of the football that's been going on, though, Matt. Because you actually ended up watching the whole England game, although couple hours later, didn't you? Because it's been the big news of the week.
I did. Yeah, I'd planned to go out, but as soon as it was delayed, I was like, sod it. Phone on Do Not Disturb, get into bed, set the pre-work alarm, and then, yeah, woke up 6:30, planted myself in front of the telly, told my girlfriend to not under any circumstances tell me the score, and yeah, enjoyed every last kick. Well, I didn't enjoy every last kick actually, but the full experience of England's 3-2 win over Mexico was
Mm,
a real pleasure. Absolutely the highlight
totally.
since we last recorded. Although, to reflect another one of the victories I've been a big fan of since then is my
Oh,
beer for
great
the week.
segue.
This time, I've got a Belgian beer. Not even since the win, I just manifested it by getting this in the same 4 for 3 deal. I think my German beer
Oh,
last week
excellent.
came from Sainsbury's.
Oh,
It
that is
is
nice.
a Bacchus raspberry that comes in this nifty paper bag, which I unwrapped before recording for the benefit of listeners. And it's this
Mm.
sort of lovely dark colour when you pour it, but makes it look like a winter beer, but it's not, not really a winter beer because it is fruity. So yeah, that's what
I'm going to
I'm
say,
rocking
Matt, you
with
are
this
in for a
week.
treat. That is a lovely, lovely beer choice. Uh, my selection this week is a bit more sadness tinged into it. Yesterday, I thought it'd be a nice treat with Spain Portugal playing to go treat myself to a couple of beers and also bring have those ready for today as well. So I got a 4 pack of Budweiser for on club card from Sainsbury's, Tesco, sorry, £4. Uh, Very good deal. Put it home, put it in the fridge. Went to get one of them out, and then with the Budweisers, they've got the screw top right. So I went to give it a twist, and I was like,
Yeah,
my hand really, really hurts here. Jesus, what's wrong? And I looked at the label and it was 0%. I've never seen a 0% Budweiser in my life. I didn't know
me
it did it. I mean, they
neither.
don't have to take much alcohol out, do they? But uh, admittedly, they are pretty tasty. So I'm looking forward to the other two of those I've got tonight, as well as a clear head
Very nice.
for the morning after. So you probably doesn't have many clear heads anyway. Jordan Henderson potentially with all the painkillers he's on, but I'd say the England squad as a whole will be struggling to come back down to earth and from that altitude after a heroic, truly heroic win. I mean, how would you describe it, Matt? You saw the whole game.
It was like nothing I've seen from an England
Mm,
side at a major tournament before, which I think was the most refreshing and sort of
yeah.
satisfying thing about it. Like getting through to the quarterfinals of this tournament for England
Hmm.
before a ball was kicked was probably seen
Yeah.
as like the bare minimum. But when we got to it and there'd been all that build up about the
Mm.
altitude at the Azteca and Mexico, they've not conceded a goal. They've barely lost a
They've lost
game in
two
the
games
history
ever
of that
there. Yeah.
stadium. And yeah, with England having the demons of World Cup
Mm.
'86, Hand of God, to contend with as well, it was just such a storied build up that you felt like it was written for
Hmm.
England to not do well. And, the DR Congo game in the round of 32 wasn't the most
Convincing.
exciting from an England point of view, or certainly not one to sort of, yeah, induce much optimism. And it was just it was such a thrilling game, and I'm really not used to seeing England be on
Mm,
the right end of those. Like, we've had good games in the past. I remember thinking the France game where we went out in the last World Cup was
mm,
like a very high quality match, but
mm,
obviously on the losing end. Croatia in 2018, great game, lost, and yeah, the two Euros finals as well. Um, but it was just some really commendable rearguard
mm,
action. I think it was last week, maybe the episode before, I'd said that I was really not used to, or finding it difficult to go from being an Arsenal fan, where they can like see out a 1-0 lead if they had to defend it
mm,
for 200 minutes, to England, who have such a shoddy,
mm.
like porous defence. And lo and behold, Dan Burn enters the field with John Stones
Yeah,
sort of
leading tower of
not
life.
far ahead of him. And then they've just turned into like every bit of Mikel Arteta's Arsenal that I've enjoyed for the last year. It was like a sort of comforting hug when I saw those balls getting headed away. It was unbelievable. And it's just filled me with real optimism for the rest of the tournament for England now, because obviously Haaland in the next game is like
Mm.
a tough ask, but yeah, I mean, bring it on from this point of view. And even if England don't win the World Cup, which obviously I wouldn't make us favourites to yet, um, I think you can bow out saying
Hmm.
you've had a good time, you've represented yourself well, and yeah, just overall so
Mm.
much more
I
than I
mean,
was
it was
expecting.
like again truly excellent performance, and as I said, really did feel like it was written in the stars for England to go out there until the leading Tower of Blythe came on and absolute, nutted every single ball that came within 20 meters of him away. It was mate. What really wowed me though was just how, again, with the English media really, really hyping up the altitude. Like I was expecting, Declan Rice, for example, who's looked knackered pretty much since he's set foot in the Americas for this tournament. Uh, maybe struggle a little bit, but the athleticism showed by the entire team was outstanding. I think it's probably one of the best athletic performances I've ever seen, and it really just, yeah, really blew me away. The dedication, and also as well just how smart Tuchel was in this game. I think he really, really handled it well, and I think again his bravery. I think which was shown in the Congo game by putting Declan Rice to right back, which completely transformed England's outlook on that game. As well as his like calmness and belief in the team to get through that Mexican onslaught, deciding to go full route Mikel Arteta and hunker down into the box. I don't think that's something that Southgate would have done, and if I'm honest, I think Southgate, no disrespect to the man, but probably would have lost both of these games. I think you can really see the impact that Tuchel's had on the team, as well. Even with Bellingham, I think he's Bellingham's been excellent for England since from the moment he's kicked the ball. I mean, especially last year, as he basically took England single handedly to the final. But the decision to drop
Yeah.
him, the whole discussion of, I remember at the beginning of the tournament, the English media was in, like absolute, it was in the sticks. But who starts? Rodgers or Bellingham? Rodgers or Bellingham? And I think Bellingham's clearly stepped up to the plate. He's really seen that, God, this is my tournament. I think he needs like a bit of a, he needs to play with almost like a bit of anger, uh, and have something between his teeth
Yeah.
to bite on, as opposed to Kane, who's just like a constant level head. I think it was, yeah, really, really, really impressive from England.
We've obviously not touched on the
Mm,
red card yet for Jarrell Quansah, and we know all of the controversy about that specific form of punishment that we've been subjected to over the last few days. But like moving on from the game to the
mm,
next one, to the quarter final, that's like now that we're through an even additional sort of form of like
mm,
optimism for me, because I don't understand why he's not put Ezri Konsa at right back earlier in this tournament and put Stones
Mm.
next to Gahey. Like Stones and Gahey, cornerstone of the Euros run last time round. Konsa go at right back. Like he's played there before, probably
Yeah,
more than
certainly.
Quansah has in his career. And finally, unfortunately, in the last game, Tuchel was forced to do that, and it seemed to shore us up a little bit. Obviously, did
Mm.
coincide with us going to a
I
back
mean, and the
five
thing
more
is,
or
I don't
less.
even.
But I was going to say it's just like sort of no end of good takeaways to have after this game, apart from the sort of just ludicrous post
Oh, the
match
limbs. The
scenes.
limbs, and especially again one limb, as I've referred to already, with poor Jordan Henderson breaking his wrist. I mean, you've really got to feel for the guy. How many players have been ruled out of a World Cup through injury without playing, or even in a celebration? Even in a
Without kicking a
celebration,
ball.
when does that happen?
I don't think I've ever known it happen. I remember seeing, was it Liverpool had a game where they were celebrating and like a streaker, well, not streaker, but a
Mm,
fan had run onto the pitch and was getting involved and slipped as they went into like the
mm.
melee of players and seemingly just absolutely clattered into someone's Achilles. But I
I
don't
do
remember it
remember that.
being a serious injury in the end.
Yeah,
It was more of a
I mean
scare.
Jurgen Klopp, I think, threw his
Um,
back out in one of those as
but
well.
yeah, yeah, something about the
Mm.
Liverpool link because Henderson obviously familiar with that part of the country as well. But I mean, thank God it didn't happen to a more
Oh,
integral member of
100%,
this team.
100%. I think I think Wayne Rooney's comments on the because he recently said they should England should be out partying too hard because of this, which I don't necessarily think they were, but I think I think his warning may have inadvertently been about don't go too crazy with the fans and whatnot screaming Wonderwall, jumping over barriers, just just play it safe. I was just going to say I don't actually think
Yeah,
as good as Ezra Konsa was at right back. I actually don't think he's going to play the next game at all. I think, or at the very least at right back, I think that's going to be potentially Jed Spence or Reece James out there with again the threat because again all
yeah,
of Mexico were again really intense pressing team. I think the threat of Antonio Nusa is a serious one for the Norway game. I think although he hasn't in every game produced, I think especially in the Brazil game, he would either drift out wide and not be able to get the ball, or drift inside and lose the ball. And again was hooked at half time for Oscar Bob. Uh, but I still think that's a serious threat England have to watch out for, again, with how squishy some of the defence has looked. Do you want to hop over to Norway?
yeah, absolutely. I think obviously they beat Brazil. It was massive, massive result and a really entertaining end to the game at least. And start like the first 10 minutes cracking, last 15
Yeah.
fantastic. In the middle, I kind of lost
Mm.
focus a little bit. But, it had plenty of good moments. Disallowed goal, saved penalty, 3 goals, including an absolute scorcher
Mm.
from Haaland for his second. He looks
Mm.
really dangerous. But I would say, from an England point of view, given they're our next opponents, I'm maybe more optimistic about our chances of keeping them quiet after that game than I would have been if they'd, just got a hypothetical bye and didn't have to demonstrate any qualities that they had against Brazil. Because I do think Brazil sort of shut
Mm.
them down, or at least the quality was less
Yeah.
able to show its face, I think, for Norway in their round of
Mm.
16 tie.
100%. I think Brazil almost I think gave the game to Norway a little bit. I think they had about half the possession throughout the game, which you wouldn't really associate with that team, but I guess makes sense when you look at the counter-attacking threat that Norway have with Nusa, Haaland, as well as Odegaard, who's just again has shown time and time again for Arsenal. He's just able to, link, create such quick transitions. I think maybe shown a little bit earlier in Mikel Arteta's reign. And then you look at the defenders, and you've got Leo Ostigard, Christopher Ayer, who conceded the penalty against Matheus Cunha, which was an absolute stinker. The defence is just not there. Mola Wolfer from Wolves, who was...
I don't understand. I can't believe how he's getting a game at this stage of the World Cup.
If he's at quarter-final, then I could be a quarter-final for the World Cup, easy. Like, what am I doing wrong, honestly? But no, I think Brazil, again, although they weren't able to score, I think mostly down to, I think arguably one of the goalkeeping performances of the tournament from Nyland. I think all the conversation's been around Haaland, and I think for the most part, rightly so. But I think he really puts him right up there with, the Vizinha's performance against Spain, and again, touchwood, the Egyptian goalkeeper who's currently playing Argentina, and I think they're still at 1-0.
No, they're not, because it's currently 2-0.
Wow, wowzers trousers.
Yeah.
Well, even then we've got exactly that is right up there with the top of the top. I thought Neelan was excellent. I think again, the penalty save may have been a poor penalty, but he also held his nerve and didn't dive early, completely blocking out that Endrick 1-on-1, which I thought was going to be a surefire goal, to be honest. And then the second Martinelli came off and Neymar came on, Brazil almost looked like they just conceded the game. Like they couldn't. There was no counter-attacking threat. There was no... they had some pace from Endrick, but he is also a 19-year-old. And I think they really lost a lot of their organisation. And I think that allowed... they started going deeper and deeper back and looking weaker and weaker. And Haaland was slowly building into the game as well. I think he was having a few half chances in the first half, getting closer. And then Gabriel had him pocketed pretty much for the game. And I think Haaland had a really good game against Gabriel. Obviously, you're talking about great Arsenal performances, but this was sadly more run of the mill for you guys in terms of watching Erling Haaland dominate your best centre back. But I mean, Haaland was excellent. I think Brazil really did cede the game, and honestly, I think if I were England, I'd be a lot more. I'd definitely be more scared to play Brazil, but it's not really too. It's pretty even, to be honest. I think both sides are scary. I think if England are to win that, they do have to, again, I think, cede a lot of the ball like they did against Mexico, just because they've shown just how effective they are at that, deep block.
Yeah, and I think it might be a bit of a game of chicken, with Norway most certainly wanting to try and exploit the space in behind, and England probably well aware that they best served not giving them that. So it will be a fascinating encounter on Saturday to see who gets the better 100%. Of that tie.
Another Portuguese-speaking nation went out alongside Brazil over the last couple of days.
Not anymore, mate.
Well, Portugal don't speak Portuguese anymore.
Brazil aren't Portuguese.
They speak Portuguese. Did I say Portuguese?
They do. It was a colonialism.
It was in there. It was in there, and I completely missed it. Of course, Spain went and had a 1-0 victory against Portugal yesterday evening at the time of recording. If I'm honest, a really boring game for the most part. But I think really, Bobby Martinez has quit. There's pretty much signed and sealed to be going to Al Nassr over the coming days. He was described as very weak by a lot of the journalism afterwards, because he of course didn't sub Ronaldo at any point for Gonçalo Ramos. And honestly, this was a Spain team that, although they haven't conceded this World Cup, which is crazy given the 5 games in, I think almost were there for the taking. Like, they really weren't able to break through Portugal that much, especially with Nuno Mendes, until he came off injured in the second half, was running the game, had completely pocketed Jamal, except for one curling shot from the edge of the box, which he only got because Nuno Mendes had nearly scored a goal at the other end of the pitch. But Portugal were, I think, probably the better side for the first 50 or 60 minutes. And as soon as Nuno Mendes came off, they just fell inwards, to be honest. I think bringing on Nelson Semedo, they lost a lot of speed. Also, again, having Ronaldo in that front line just meant that there was so many chances. I think, in particular, one where Pedro Neto, runs from the halfway line to the, right to the byline, puts in a beautiful cross, through the 6-yard box, and then Ronaldo is about 10, 15 metres behind it. Obviously prime Ronaldo would have got there, but you'd imagine that, Gonzalo Ramos or someone a little bit more agile are doing better suited to that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, I don't particularly like the Portugal squad aside from Ronaldo, but it is ridiculous when you see how many players have sort of had to watch their international careers fall by the wayside just for the sake of holding up this man's ego. Since I was just looking at the 11 from the 2016 Euros final, which he boasted about winning in his defeated interview afterwards.
Despite not playing the final.
Yeah, exactly. The only player who's, and I don't even know if he is in the squad still now, from that game who's knocking around, is Rafael Guerreiro. Yeah, is he still in the Portugal squad? He's off to Saudi,
mate. He left. I don't think he's in the Portugal squad, or if he is, he's playing a very minor role. I mean,
yeah. So the likes of Ruben Diaz, Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes,
Rafael.
Rafael. These are players who, in a lot of cases, are not gonna see another World Cup as a player, and they're just all this is it. They've not got past a quarter-final since that 2016 Euros victory. So it just shows you that, even though the players on the face of it have arguably become better, Renato Sanchez does not get into this Portugal
not a chance.
team.
No, I think Portugal, again, I think I alluded to this a couple of episodes ago, but Portugal have a team in there that could win the tournament, and they don't even know they have it. Because, again, Bobby Martinez is a terrible football manager. But they really just don't know they have it. I mean, Spain, again, obviously not yet to concede. Strong defensive performance. Did look pretty meek until they brought in, their two strikers in Ferran Torres and Mikel Merino, the latter of which getting the winner. The person I think that trained Merino to be a centre mid alongside the person who trained Scott McTominay to be a centre mid, I think should really reevaluate their career choices, because my oh my, that man just delivers, doesn't he?
He just oozes of composure and clutch energy, Mikel Merino. I absolutely love him.
He is great, and it was such a lovely goal. It was such great striking instincts that, again, ironically, Ronaldo hasn't really displayed at all this tournament.
Yeah, it's funny that on the day, an out of position sort of makeshift striker almost has outshone him on the biggest stage.
It's really, really funny. And I mean, it was such a well-timed goal as well, really near the end of the game, with, I think it was just, just past 59 seconds past 90. And, he really did time it effectively well. Of course, that beautifully integrated segue means it's time for just 59 seconds. So, Matt, you are this week's speaker in just 59 seconds. Would you please reiterate the rules to our loyal listeners so both you and them know what we're doing?
Yeah, this week Ivor is going to provide me with a mystery football news topic from the last week or however long it's been since we last recorded. And I will have 59 seconds to talk about it without hesitation, repetition, or deviation from the topic or the truth. And I think that just about clarifies it.
Yes, it does. That's a perfect explanation, Matt. And as the wheel spins, it lands on Sandro Tonali.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Matt, you have just 59 seconds without repetition, deviation from truth or topic, or hesitation to talk about Sandro Tonali and any tangential topics. Are you ready to start?
I am.
In which case, your time starts in three, two, one, go.
Sandro Tonali is a newly announced Tottenham Hotspur midfielder after he left Newcastle for 90, rising potentially to £100 million. This is after what has not been a barnstorming short Newcastle career. He arrived and shortly afterwards was suspended for months because of gambling incident that he was involved in whilst he was a player at the Serie A club AC Milan, along with some other colleagues there, I believe. But nevertheless, he's established himself in one of the best midfields in the Premier League over the last few seasons, alongside chiefly Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton. I think it's fair to say, as one of the best midfielders in that trio as well. And Tottenham think it's worthy of a record signing for them.
Yes, it certainly
shortly
is.
after they'd already broken that
And
for Mateus Fernandes.
and you hit just 59 seconds very, very easily. Congratulations, Matt. I thought about stopping you pretty early on, as Tonali actually went for 92.5 million plus 7.5 in add-ons. However, I don't think I'm not that pedantic.
That's very good of you.
No worries. What do you think of this transfer first before we go on to our other topics?
I mean, I think it's a bit ludicrous that he's going for this money, but the market...
It's insane!
Like, I don't know. I would rather have Elliot Anderson, but I even think that the fee for Elliot Anderson is ludicrous, and I can't even remember the timelines now. Whichever of Tottenham or Man City bought a midfielder for massive money this summer has blood on their hands for anyone else that's trying to shop in that market, because it's just completely exploded.
They've torched it. They've completely torched it. I'm always hoping there's a complete lull in activity just so prices go back down. Because, Elliot Anderson, I mean, I won't really touch on him too much, but I think max £80 million player. Tonali, max 70. Mateus Fernandes, max 50. Probably 40 in a relegated West Ham side, to be honest. All insane overpays for, I think, generally okay players. I think Tonali, is honestly just... I mean, spending 185 million on Mateus Fernandes and Tonali, I think, is neither good in a vacuum nor in reality. Like, I don't think Tonali can run, but you know who else can? Conor Gallagher. How much better are Spurs off with signing Tonali compared to having Gallagher, or even spending half the amount on anyone else? I think they obviously do need to overspend. There's definitely an element there where they do need to overspend to get their the targets they want, because they have been stung by the two 17th place finishes and have a lot of money due to how commercially viable they are as an entity. But I really just am not a fan of this Tonali signing. I think it, again, could well be good. It'll play well, certainly, but I think the opportunity cost, again, almost like Man United's window last season, where they spent 200 million on Cunha and Burmo and Sesko. I think there's potentially going to be an opportunity cost with more so on the Tonali side than the Mateus Fernandes side. I think sheerly due to the volume of the money and the lack of difference in the profile that he offers, because he's not. I think what Spurs need is a lights out amazing passer, and Mateus Fernandes is a great passer, but Tonali, like I think they almost would have been better off buying Bruno G.
Hmm. Yeah, and you see now that they're linked with signing flipping Junior Krupi. Like, where is all this money coming from?
It,
And my evaluation is just that it's all these people on my Instagram stories who have been going to see Bad Bunny and whoever the hell else is playing at that godforsaken place this summer whilst there's no football on. Shame on you if you're attending one of those.
let's just see if they've actually invested any money into fixing their pitch so that the players stop getting ACL injuries. But more to come on that. We'll see how that goes later on in the season. Do you know the other topics one of which we've
Absolutely
touched upon already, which is Jordan Henderson, who of course broke his arm or wrist. I didn't want to watch the video. I thought it made me feel sick. And Jeremy Monga. Do you know much about Jeremy Monga?
I know a lot more than I used to. To be fair, I knew a few things in the first place. He was a record breaker or close to when he got his Premier League debut at Leicester last season. But yeah, been in the news this week because after a seemingly signed, sealed, delivered move to Arsenal fell through after Man City sort of gazumped them and went above the fee that Arsenal were willing to pay, potentially both on price and wages, from what I've heard or read. You know, I don't know people that know about these things.
You never know.
Well, yeah, I'm not that far away.
Yeah,
but maybe 1 degree. But yeah, he looks set to go to Man City for I think around £12 million, which for a 16-year-old is pretty silly money. But he is probably regarded as one of the best, if not the best, English prospect of his age in the country. So you can't really argue with it.
He is exciting. I think, however, it does also bring into case a pretty sad story of two tales of PSR, where Leicester, of course, were hounded by the regulatory body, proved innocent of one of their charges, and then of course punished again when they came up to the Premier League, and this is led to them having the double relegation. Whereas again, Manchester City have had the 115 odd charges on their plate for at least 3 years, and have failed to have anything come from that. Also, I'd just like to highlight that Argentina have brought it back up to 3-2.
Yeah.
So Neeland at least
bad time.
At the very least, it means that the shout for Neeland being the best goalkeeping performance of the tournament so far does remain truthful. That's 1 plus at least. But yeah. Our next topic actually brings us on to just 59 seconds. Not just 59 seconds. Our final segment for today is Flo Balogun, who, of course, got a red card in the USA's game against Bosnia when they're 1-0 up for, I think, a pretty, although unfortunate, I think, undeniable red card.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump pulls a little bit of magic. Infantino, does a little bit here and there, and his red card is overturned, only for USA or the US men's national team to get resoundingly thumped by Belgium.
What a heartening result that was. And Balogun, not a game I stayed up to watch, but from what I could tell from the highlights I've seen, barely a factor. So sort of justice served.
100%. And I think especially insulting, I think UEFA obviously send that open letter to FIFA, which I think spiritually included a lot of swear words. Maybe not in reality, but I think especially with Infantino being unable to step in when the Somali referee Omar Artan was refused entry to the US, as well as fans being refused entry. yet stepping in, for this, speaks volumes again. Very, very sad to see. However, this does lead us on to quite a fun final topic, Matt.
Yeah, so my initial thought was if we knew a kind and benevolent power broker, which red cards historically would we have liked to have seen overturned? But you've suggested broadening that out a bit to maybe also some ghost red cards that we'd like to see exercised or would have in years gone by. And that's actually quite a handy adjustment because it was really difficult to think of things where it was like, oh, I wish this red card would have been overturned because the game after that, actually, England were really bad. So, yes, just a variety of red card decisions that our hypothetical supreme leader could have interfered with.
I mean, as a Chelsea fan, I've got spoils to pick from here, having racked up a full starting 11 of red cards if you include Wesley Fofana twice and Enzo Maresca.
And that's just from last season,
that's just from last season. So if I was, they're our benevolent oligarch, better have a lot of money. Better have a lot of money is all I'm saying. He's gonna be a busy boy. Are there any for you?
Yeah, I also. Well, there was one which just, for the good of natural justice, should have been overturned. And it did involve Chelsea, but it was an Arsenal red card against Chelsea in the early to mid 2010s. Can't remember which season now, but the infamous incident where Kieran Gibbs was sent off for a goal line handball that was actually Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think, we could have done with Donald Trump's sort of words in the ear of that referee that day. Because although saying that, I think if any world leader were to mistake Kieran Gibbs for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, he'd probably be top of my list. But yeah, for one that wouldn't necessarily have brought a positive result at the end of it, because I think Arsenal were already trailing by multiple goals at that point, that is certainly the one that came to mind first. If we're talking internationals, which is obviously on all of our minds at the moment, but going to the Euros, I would say Chiellini on Saka, how that wasn't a red card in the Euros final. I think extra time at that point when things were tied up and Saka was clean through, Chiellini just hoisting the collar of his shirt. I think pretty unanimously seen as a red card by those of us in the room where I was watching that night.
It was a very
so
violent.
That's another one that's.
But yeah,
yeah.
For sending Saka into the shadow realm there, that's definitely a fair one. I think the main one I'd overturn, I think this one always comes to mind, is Mateo Kovacic's against Arsenal in the 2020 FA Cup final, where he, of course, famously got stood on. He got stood on.
Was that his second yellow card? It wasn't a straight red.
I think it might have been second yellow, which you can't actually overturn with VAR, which is a stupid rule.
Exactly.
But Granit Xhaka, I believe, stood at Mateo Kovacic's foot, who then promptly got sent off, which was, I think, one of the most brutal red cards I've personally been on the wrong side of, especially given the situation, FA Cup final. It was pretty tough to swallow. In terms of red cards I'd award, I would probably award one to the entire Brazil team for what they did to Scotland. I think, again, if I had the power to, or if I knew someone who had the power, Vinicius Junior would have been off for a clear and disgusting foul on Jack Hendry within the first 10 minutes, and I think Scotland would have stood a real chance. So that's who I'm putting.
Yeah, that's a very good shout. I think with my Arsenal hat on, to be honest, our red cards historically have been just completely deserved. Bernd Leno handling the ball outside the box was probably a low point for lockdown Arsenal, but there was also Nicolas Pepe headbutting, Granit Xhaka choking someone out for Burnley, uh, and none of these I can see sort of making a case to overturn.
The,
And
the
to be
case, the
honest, at
case
the
to be
time,
overturned doesn't matter. Like that's not the
that's,
point.
to be fair, not relevant, but I just think those teams were so bad that I wouldn't want to have overturned them anyway. I don't think it would have made a sod all difference.
Mm.
Perhaps I would have imposed a mysterious red
Mm.
card on Kepa before the last Community Shield final.
You know what? I would have also imposed many mysterious red cards on Kepa throughout his Chelsea career. That would be quite nice, especially on maybe a few for Ale Garnacho as well, because he should not be seeing the Chelsea shirt for a very long time. Thank God he's not listening to this podcast. Does
We
that
can't
come?
be sure.
That oh. the odds are low. It's 1 in 7,999,999,996. Because I think we've got four regular listeners, including my girlfriend. But that's a moot point, really, at the end of the day. Is there anything else you want to go over, Matt, or should we give a little review of our beers? How was your delicious Belgian paper wrapped extravaganza?
Tasted like the sweet solace of justice and also raspberries. So, not much to add to that, really. It was a lovely beer, as you predicted. I can't remember if I've had this one before or their cherry one, but I do remember it being a favourite of mine from a few years ago that I've not pushed the boat out to enjoy since. So, really glad that Belgium could come through and give me a reason to indulge again. I'll score it an 8.2.
That's true. That's a truly excellent performance, and I think we also have our episode title for this week being "A Sweet Swallows of Justice" and also raspberries. That is beautiful. My Bud Zeros are actually quite nice. I feel like it was one of those non-alcoholic beers, unlike a Lucky Saint, where you can taste the absence of alcohol.
Okay.
This way, I think it's maybe just a lack of bitterness or hoppiness or something to do in the fermentation process. But there was there was a certain je ne sais quoi that was lacking from it, but it was still tasty. Again, whilst a regular Budweiser bottle is 11 out of 10, I think I'd still give this a hearty 7.5.
Very nice. And for the reference of me and the viewers or listeners, can you just give us a warning of what the red flags to look out for on the packaging are if we're trying to avoid a 0% bud?
Honestly, none. Like I kid you not, it was like identical. I mean, I'll show you the bottle. It's instead of saying Budweiser, the bottle just says Bud. And also look out for the tops of the bottles because the zero alcohol ones are not screw tops, whereas the alcoholic ones were. But like otherwise, pretty clear. I feel like it's getting increasingly with the amount of low and no alcohol products you get in the shops nowadays. It's becoming increasingly easy to accidentally pick one up, which I think could be could range from no inconvenience at all to a complete day ruiner. So we'll see. I'm going to cut that because it makes me sound like an alcoholic. That's all we have time for today. Thank you very much for listening. Please make sure to like, follow, subscribe on whatever application you're using, whether it's YouTube, please like, subscribe, hit the share link, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, follow us, share the podcast, get the Full Brew word out, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.